So I just got through watching the Santa Claus 1994, and I couldn't help but notice that, you compare it to these other movies like Jingle All the Way from the 90s, and it seems like a recurring theme that the dad at the beginning is always a workaholic. And then through the course of the film, he has to learn to not be a workaholic and to appreciate the value of family, right? So, the dad's at the meeting, he can't, be there for his son. It's always a son, and then, it's the value of Christmas. So here's what I think. I think that Hollywood writers in the 90s, they must have grown up with these workaholic dads. And then these movies that they write are about their experiences with their dads, and it's like a revenge letter. It's a revenge letter to their dads and saying, like, why weren't you there, and you should have been there, and here's why. And it's, like it's a Christmas, the value of Christmas.
Yeah, so I believe the opposite. I think that the people writing the Hollywood scripts are the workaholics, and they're sort of chronicling their poor relationship with their children, and this is their way of expressing that.
But see, here's my problem with that. That's way too autobiographical. Why would a Hollywood writer, write about how shitty they are as a parent and put that in a film and then make the behavior that they have the villainous behavior that has to be changed? If they were that self-aware, then they wouldn't be working in Hollywood to begin with.
Yeah, so oftentimes writers write about their own problems because they are wrecks, and they have to draw inspiration from somewhere, so they just write about their own shitty lives and then they put it on screen for other people to see.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was their sons, right? Like, their shitty lives could have already happened for them as kids. Their shitty lives was their dad who wasn't there ever, and that's what they're writing about. If they're writing about their own shittiness as dads, then you have this, like, it's just way too existential. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would they write about, like, because it's contradictory. If the message of the film is that being a workaholic is bad, then that means they wouldn't be in Hollywood. They wouldn't be writing this film. They wouldn't be writing Jingle All the Way, if they believed in the message of Jingle All the Way pertaining to them as the dad villain.
So, I mean, I do sort of agree with you that there's sort of like a cycle where, as a kid, maybe their dad was absent. Now, as a dad, they are also absent, but that doesn't mean that they can't recognize that they are also absent, and they want to sort of atone for that absentness by making a Christmas movie that anyone can enjoy. And I just think that it's one thing to recognize your own shittiness, but another thing to actually like do something to change it.
So you think that they have recognized their own shittiness and that they're atoning for it. So for all of these writers throughout all of the 90s holidays movies, this to them, that movie that they were working on was their last movie. They're like, after this, I'm out and I'm not going to be a workaholic, and that's why I'm making a movie that's against workaholic dads. Like, after this, I'm going to be a good dad. And so for every single writer in the 90s writing a holiday film, they're just saying, this is it, and now I'm out. Like, like now they're out, like the CIA, like they're out, and they're like, no, I shun that life. I don't want it anymore. I wrote this for my son. Every single one of those writers wrote that movie for their son.
Well, I mean, not everyone in Hollywood has to be a workaholic. Like, you could sort of stop, obsessing over your work so much, and like it doesn't mean that they have to quit their jobs as Hollywood writers. It just means that they have to be aware that other people are counting on them and that they have to be present in the lives of other people. It's not like they have to quit their job as a Hollywood writer in order to be present for like their son.
There's no way you can't reconcile them. And guess what? Internet, I want you to vote. I want you to comment right now or whatever and tell me what you think about the holiday 90s dad debate.